So it's always such a joy for me to get to spend this Thursday with you. Just going to center my energy back down again. As I invite each and every one of you to go ahead and start to ground into your center, bring yourself into your heart center. Allowing yourself to just become present in your physical body. That no matter what's been going on all day today or all week, that this is really a dedicated time that we take to not only join hearts together, but also just to reaffirm to ourselves that we are choosing to step into our spiritual maturity, and that this is really giving us a greater, deeper understanding of sense feeling what it's like to be in that vibration as a community, as a group. Just become aware of your energy field in the moment, and as you pull your awareness into the now, just notice what energy is in your field, what thoughts, feelings, and emotions may be whirling around in there. Depending on what your day is like, if it's been a busy day, there may be a lot of other energy swirling in there. If it's been a calm day, there may not be that much. And just to notice the difference, neither here nor there, but just becoming aware of it now. And just bring yourself now into your central column. I will invite you again that when you think of your central column, your Sushumna column, your Kundalini channel, in your body, you can actually bring your visual or your imaginary awareness to the back of you. So it brings you more into your body, and sense and feel the bumps and ridges along your spine of your back. So as if you can just pull your awareness all the way behind you. So you can really feel that energy moving all the way up your channel, whether you feel it, whether you imagine it, whether you sense it, however your imagination works for you. As you sense, feel your energy as you breathe up from your tailbone all the way up into your pineal gland. And with each breath you take, allow yourself to feel the force of your breath clearing out that channel, as if you're opening the floodgates to flush out everything all the way through you, all of the stagnancy, all of the gunk, all of the energy, and pushing it all the way through so that you're clearing out your channels, allowing the fresh new energy being brought through your breath to begin to revitalize and move through your body, invigorating you every breath you take as you press it into your pineal gland. Hold it in your pineal gland. Press it into there. So I will just give the verbal perception again that when you're sipping up through your tailbone, it's as if it's a straw. And you're breathing up strongly, and you're contracting your perineum. You're contracting the bottom. And as you breathe up, you keep contracting your first chakra, second chakra, third chakra, fourth chakra, and you keep bringing it and compressing it up. And you want to press that air all the way into your pineal gland and just let that pressure just keep compressing into there, activating your piezoelectrical field of your pineal gland. What you're doing is you're activating your plasma body within your field. And as that DMT presses in there, you're expanding your auric body. You're becoming more aware of it, expanding your aura field, and allowing your heart coherence to start to take a balanced state of being within your body. This is really our natural state of being, but here on Earth, this is not natural. This is more of a elevated state of being. But know that you can come in and out of it anytime you choose and keep breathing into it. And on your next large exhale out, I want you just to imagine that within your pineal gland, you have your Merkabas star, and you're just gonna breathe it down your Sushumna channel all the way out the tip of your tailbone, all the way into the heart of the earth. And you're just going to intermingle your Merkabas star with the plasma field Merkaba star of the earth. And it's a vast plasma field. It's really a stargate within Earth's core that allows you to sense, feel the heart of the universe through the heart of the mother. From here, if you wanted to, you could completely let your body dissolve into light, into nothing. Being the 0 point field of this plasma field, you could completely surrender all of yourself to just floating in this field of plasma and allow the rejuvenation of this plasma to completely purify you, to completely rejuvenate you, to completely uplift you, to completely allow you to heart and mind sync with the consciousness of the earth. This is the ultimate med bed, you guys. Just to know that anytime you choose, you could drop right into here. Much like many of the crystalline healing chambers throughout our universe that you can visit, this is something that's right here, here at home. Drop into the heart of our beautiful Earth Mother. Remember again what it feels like to be held, to be loved, to be supported, to be nurtured, to be wanted, to be worthy, to be so appreciated, to be a child of such a divine being. You are royalty. And from this place, just inviting you that you can sit within this plasma field and imagine that plasma just sipping up through your tailbone all the way up into your pineal gland, and allowing that just to shoot out the crown of your head now, out into the center of the universe, and connecting again through the galactic core all the way into past to the true galactic core of all of our universe, and just to the heart center of all the creator realms, and just to be there now within that plasma field and to feel the infinite essence of creation. And allow that to breathe back into your body. And as you breathe the breath back in, that this allows you to create an infinity breath. And each breath you take is creating an infinity symbol of living breath through you. As you breathe in, that breath moves up and in and circulates through your heart, and then back out your crown into the heart of the universe, and then back through your crown into your heart, and from your heart down into the earth, and from the earth back up and up into your heart. And notice how both of those energies are co-mingling right within your heart center, and within your heart you are breathing in and out all living existence. Your heart is your star gateway. Right inside of you, you don't actually need a stargate in order for you to teleport your consciousness to any place within all creation. Your stargate is beating right inside of you. And just feel the universal and the earth consciousness commingling as you become the conduit of these living, breathing lights. And from this space, I invite you to send this living heart of light out to whatever is on your consciousness or your mind right now. Be it people that you have in your reality that you care about, send them this heart coherence, compassion, and love. Be it some place in your town, in the land, on the planet, in the universe, wherever you are feeling called and guided to send this immaculate heart coherence energy of love and vibration. Send this out now through your heart, mind intentions. And as you do, I will read our declaration of intention. As I speak it out, hear it within your mind or speak it out loud if you can, in order to share your thoughts of your dedication of this intention from your heart. We declare from the core of our heart our intention to serve our source. We align ourselves fully and completely to the heart of the one infinite creator. We dedicate this life to being our true heart song across all the cosmos. We surrender our ego now to be in service to the law of one mission of first cause light as a pillar of light. In the light of truth, we declare and intend, we are that we are. I am that I am. I am a soul sovereign being, and so it is. Take a deep breath. And within this loving heart space moment, we call upon all of our cosmic family to be present with us now as we hold heart coherent space with each and every one of you through all the higher dimensional planes. We link our higher intelligence now to our higher self and to our soul families, our oversoul families, our Christ Avatar God self families, and our Rishi God self families. We connect to the Creator God realms and to Mother Ark, Father Ark. We are here in our declaration moment of connecting our hearts across all the cosmos with all benevolent beings who are living in the mission of service to the one infinite creator in the love and light, of the upliftment of all humanity and the rebalancing of our universe as God would have it be. Within this very moment, we are uplifting our heart song to all nations. Thank you, thank you, thank you for assisting us as we go through this beautiful evening's class this evening, for assisting us in holding sacred space. We ask that all of our guardians circle around, that anything and everything that comes up through our topics of conversation this evening, that any entities, any spirits, or any beings that come forth for healing during our topic this evening, that they have safe passage should they choose back into source light upon their path of evolution. We hold this intention and this gateway of space, and so it is. With a loving heart, so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just allowing yourself to keep holding the space. I invite you to just keep holding intention, heart, space, and love. As we come a little bit more into the forefront of our conscious mind, I love these evenings together. This is a chance for us to hold this heart space and this heart coherence simultaneously while we are also allowing ourselves to be in a conscious state of mind, which is not always easy in our day-to-day life, especially when we're out and about with a lot of other people who are not choosing to hold higher states of mind. And because of that, many times we get in these situations where we have to deal with people who have what I like to call hitchhikers. So last week we had a conversation about entanglement, and we really talked about how sacred our space is. We started to talk about the incredible power of holding our space, that the more and more that we actually work on clearing our energy space, the more that we're actually building our auric field around us, which is a plasma field of light. We are actually creating a radiance of light, of charge around us. And this radiance and charge, we're going to learn about a little bit more this evening in a slightly different way. So give me one moment. I'm actually going to start a PowerPoint. I put some slides together for this evening, just because sometimes it's a little bit easier to follow along if there's pictures. So many of you I know are incredibly familiar with spirit attachment. So a lot of this will actually be a review for many of you. And hopefully a lot of the information will kind of expand on it, as well as give you a little bit of tools to work with what we're talking about. So, Don't cancel. Wait. You guys always get to see all my fun lack of ability on the computer. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. And just a thumbs up. Can you guys see the PowerPoint that I have? Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. And oh, I got a thumbs up from Shelley. Thank you. I'm going to throw up the chat as well. So do type into the chat if there's something that comes up. If you have a question about or a comment on anything, just go ahead and type it in there. And here we go. All right. So last week, I got the opportunity to share with you guys a little bit of a scenario that I had personally gone through as far as catching something within my field. And as much as it can sound like a creepy or a freaky thing, I really want to share a little bit more about this so that we understand how common this actually is and how to actually protect ourselves and clear ourselves whenever anything like this is happening. So, what is spirit attachment? So just kind of a slight definition of it. Spirit attachment is when an intelligent consciousness of a disembodied being, be it human or otherwise, that for whatever reason, for multiple different reasons, it will attach to the field of a living being. And I really want to emphasize the aspect of it being an intelligent consciousness. Now, it doesn't have to be like a super intelligent consciousness, but it has a sense of identity, and it is an individual consciousness in the sense that it has a thinking consciousness to it. So when we think of disembodied beings, many are spirit attachment or disembodied beings, a lot of times we think of somebody that has transitioned or passed on, who has not completely left the earth plane. And this, for the most part, is the majority of the types of spirit attachment. But I want to go over a few of the different types of spirit attachment that does happen to occur. And one of the reasons this has come through is such an important topic for each and every one of us, especially in this group, is that the majority of you are healers. The majority of you, whether or not you do it as a practice, as far as coaching or therapy or working with clients in some way, or whether you do it in just a state of your essence and your being with each and every person that you come in contact with, each and every one of you in some way, shape, or form has this healer's contract or this healer's impulse within your soul or your spirit to be here of assistance to other people. And I'm going to tell you, that creates us as an incredible beacon for spirit attachment to occur within our field. So types of spirit attachment, the common one obviously is a human who has died and is for some reason or another not willing to leave the earth. And so the first scenario would be a person who has died but is scared to leave the earth. Now, why would this occur? Why would a person be scared? Well, there's tons of different reasons why there is somebody that may pass on and they may be petrified. What if their religion taught them over and over that they were not good enough and they were going to go to hell? You know, there's many times where there will be people who lived not the best lives. Maybe they were, maybe they had murdered people. Maybe they had done ill to another person. It could be anything from Catholic or religious kind of guilt in their system as far as what they've done, or maybe even they died by suicide, which creates another level of guilt, because many philosophies and religions teach that suicide is not not a benevolent thing to do to one's soul, and therefore it would condemn one to the earth realm or hell. So many times people just have a limited awareness or consciousness. Their level of learning as a soul and a spirit in this lifetime was condensed into whatever belief systems they had. And in those belief systems, they believe that staying here on earth for some reason is better than transcending and moving on and returning home to their soul source. So what they will do is they will actually find some place to hide, and that some place is usually within the auric field of another person. So again, it could be a person that has died that just for some reason or another feels that earth and staying here and hiding out is a lot safer than moving on. And that's again the person who's afraid of hell if they don't want to move on. So another reason why many times people get trapped here, souls get trapped here, excuse me, is going to be through addiction issues. And addiction can be any level of addiction. It can be the common ones that we think of, such as alcoholism, drug use. It could be sexual addiction. It could be any kind of addiction that you could imagine. And what happens is the addiction energy, if you can imagine, just from understanding what low vibration is, and if we have addiction that is so binding that we feel out of control to the addiction, that addiction will override any other impulses they have towards moving away from the substance or the activity that they want more of. So they will, in essence, attract themselves towards a soul that is feeding the addiction that they are wanting to harvest more energy of, be it sexual addiction, be it alcohol, drugs, or any of that. So addiction issues is another reason that a lot of souls get bound here. Another one is confusion. Think about confusion. Somebody dies in an accident very quickly. There could be somebody who has been on an extreme amount of morphine. Maybe they had cancer or some sort of thing going on in the hospital, were so drugged out that they didn't actually know the moment that they transitioned or moved on. So any type of confusion, be it from blacking out, from a quick accident, something startled, any dying in the sleep, any of that can be a confusion where many times these souls are bound when you find them. They don't actually know that they're dead in the first place, and so they have still that level of confusion going on. The next mistaken energy, and this happens a lot if we are walking through, say if we're walking through a hospital, or if we're maybe going through some place where there's a lot of low vibration and confusion, we will sometimes, because of the energy work that we're doing, be the brighter light. So say we're walking through a hospital where lots of souls are transitioning on, and you go walking by with your big old orb of light, and now many times the souls will actually just think you are the light and attached to you. It's kind of as simple as that. Just they are mistaking you as the light to move on to. Other types of spirit attachment, and these ones are a little bit different. And I got one of them hitting me right now. I can feel the dizzy spell as I start to go into this one. Are the jinn, which are elemental beings. There could also be spirit attachments through spells, curses, or superimpositions through bloodlines. We've talked quite a bit about this as far as ancestral clearing and healing, and why we go through the revocations to clear bloodline curses and bloodline and ancestral debt and those kind of energies that are on us, because a lot of times it's not necessarily that the spirit attachment was specific to you, but it could actually be passed on through a bloodline. I will give you an example of the jinn. So we might think of them as genies, jinn, fairies, different types of elementals. These are earth earthbound spirits that live on a different dimensional plane than we do, but we are very much part of their reality because they live in harmony and off of the earth, right? So they're in resonance with the energy of the earth. But I don't know if you've noticed what humans are doing to the planet. And a lot of the elemental beings see us, see humans, see surface humans as an absolute threat and a danger. And they have had the viewpoint, not all of them, but many of them have had the viewpoint that they want to get rid of us because we are destroying the earth. We are not living in harmony with Earth Mother, and therefore we are destroying the sacred. So with this, there's also a level of discord within them because many of the spells and incantations, especially in the Middle East, was about capturing jinn and forcing them to serve the person who incantated them. So therefore, say a person was like, well, I'm going to summon a jinn, and in the summoning of the jinn, they would promise something to the jinn. In return, they would get either good health, good fortune, you name it. People will summon things and do spells and incantations for all kinds of things. Most times the price that the jinn would ask for that incantation would be higher than the human would want to pay. Many times it might have been promising their firstborn child, promising something of extreme value, right? If the human did not honor the exchange for the trade of the spell or the incantation, if the human did not honor and follow through to pay the jinn what the jinn required for the services, that jinn through that act would then say, well, since you didn't pay, now your entire bloodline belongs to me. So this is a lot of times, you know, not to freak you guys out or anything, but this is a lot of times what I'm really talking about when I'm talking about ancestral debt and ancestral energy that we're clearing off of bloodlines, because our ancestors did some pretty funny stuff. Okay, I'm trying to, there we go, move this. So, and then the last thing we would think of would be demonic or fallen angelic beings, which are types of spirit attachment. But I do want to say a lot of times there's a little bit of trickery around this. So sometimes, say somebody was to die in a state of rage or revenge, because this happens all the time. Imagine a scenario where somebody has a tragic thing where maybe somebody breaks in and to their home and kills everybody in their home. And as that person dies, they are in a fit of rage and wanting revenge to the person who took the life of their beloved and their family, or a war situation or something like this. So that person has just died now in a state of absolute anger, rage, or revenge. Many times when that energy is around a person, when they transition on, what happens is one of these fallen angelics or demonic beings, if you will, lower vibrational beings, will actually show up and say, oh, you want revenge? I'll help you. And they will make a barter or a bet with them and be like, well, if you come with me, I will help you and we will get revenge on them. What happens is the soul that has transitioned at that time that makes the deal with that fallen angelic or demonic, they don't realize it, but they've just given themselves in service to that entity or energy. So this comes into play a little bit later, because many times these demonic or fallen angelic beings, because they too live in a hierarchy, are wanting freedom from this place. So I really want to emphasize with you guys, we came here no matter what we find within our field, within the field of a client, within the field of our home or anywhere. If we find one of these lower vibrational beings, these lower realm beings like the demonics or the fallen angelics, many times it's a gift in their experience and ours to be of assistance, to hold space for them, to potentially break free and get to choose the light. They may not have any other opportunity other than the one we present to them in that moment of creating that transit portal of space for them in order for them to have the opportunity to choose the light and to choose assistance, and many times to break free from a hierarchy, because I will tell you, it is very much like a pyramid scheme within a lot of these realms, where a demonic will have a boss, and their boss will have a boss, and their boss will have a boss, and so on, and it usually gets to the main ones. And so a lot of times they too are just really either angelic beings who have been entrapped into lower realms, because remember, we've made shitty choices in the past, you know, our soul has fragmented. We have had just as much of an opportunity to fall into these realms, right? Of despair, of shame, of guilt, to get pulled into these realms. So we have the opportunity to help, and just to remember that everything within all creation has the ability to have the spark within it. And if there is a spark and it is not soulless, it is seeking an opportunity many times to return to the light. So I just want to talk a little bit. I just want to talk a little bit about what we can notice. So we talk all the time about catching the things that are off in our field. But I'm going to read this list because, again, if you're working with clients or connecting with other people and this kind of energy is coming up, you can potentially be of assistance to them in starting to catch something in their field that does not belong to them. So remember, anything that suddenly changes within our field is usually something coming into our field that does not belong to us. So feeling chronically tired, depleted of energy, mood swings or impulsive behavior, unexplained bursts of anger, sadness, or emotion, hearing inner voices telling you things or making negative comments, this feeling of this isn't me, problems with addictions, poor memory, inability to focus, anxiety or depression or panic attacks. I do want to say anxiety and panic attacks are huge. That's usually a huge sign that something has gotten in your space and your body is naturally having kind of an anxiety or panic attack to something in your field. Pets not responding to you the same. Onset of physical problems with no apparent cause. Fears and phobias that are unexplainable, disturbing nightmares or strange faces in dreams, feelings of being watched, feelings of unease, cold areas in your house or other presences around. So this list obviously doesn't mean 100% that this is what this is, but at the same time, you can see that this list pretty much summarizes a lot of the energy that we talk about, that when we do the work we do, when we go into our space and start to become mindful, become incredibly mindful of being the observer, observing ourselves, stepping back. I want you to imagine that you almost step back and you're watching yourself from way above you as your higher self. And as you're watching yourself from way above you, that you get to just observe you being you. And as you observe you, this way every thought, feeling, and emotion that moves through your energy field, now you're watching it. And you get to sense it and go like, wow, I'm experiencing this. My body is feeling this. These thoughts are moving through me. Notice that when we communicate about it that way, we're not owning it. We're not saying, I'm so pissed, I feel so shitty, I'm having a panic attack. In this kind of sense, we can start to pull back and go like, wow, I can feel my body is sensing anxiety. I can feel my mind is completely clogged or confused. I can sense that my energy has completely been drained out of the body. So you're starting to actually pull back a little bit and allow yourself to not identify with the emotion, but more or less observe the emotion, thought, or feeling that's going through as something that's occurring to you, but is not you in particular. This also goes along with everything that we've talked about as far as 99% of our thoughts, feelings, and emotions that we have before we really start doing the work is not even ours. So now we're identifying it, and I'm going to tell you a lot of times these spirit attachments, you can call them entity attachments or spirit attachments, however you want to see it, but that any way that we're catching all of it, our gift to humanity, our gift in this incarnation and to this planet is that we're catching it. That we're the ones that are finally catching it so that we can honor it and compassionately gift it the opportunity to return back on its path, to wholeness, back on its path, to restructuring itself within its soul field. So therefore, every time we can heal an ancestral debt or karma, something within a belief system, rewrite our dream, or help one of these entities, attachments, or energies that are within our field into its own accelerated ascension path. So basically assisting it back into its soul's path. That's what we're here to do in so many ways. If we really want to think and go like, what is my path here? Our path is to know ourselves. Our path is to be our true self. And therefore, when we catch all of the not self, that gives us the opportunity to be that healing catalyst in that moment for each and everything we catch within us. We get to show that neutral, compassionate witness to it. So this is going to be the important part. So as we talk about this, how does the spirit attachment happen? Because for the most part, we're all sitting here going like, yes, but I do my shield every day. I'm always monitoring my field. I am constantly doing the work. I'm meditating. I'm doing all of these things. How does it happen? Exactly. How does it happen? The story that I told you guys last week about this, the spirit that I caught within my field, it's not, it's one of those things where it's like you catch it and you're like, well, how did you get in here? It's like, how did the little mouse get in the house, right? How did you get in here? Because we definitely feel like we are doing the work to monitor our field, but I'm going to tell you right now, one of the things that I think we all need to come into kind of a state of understanding within ourselves is to know that as much as we are consciously aware of all the stuff we're talking about, as much as we're consciously aware of how important it is to maintain the sanctity of our field, you and I both know, full out being completely honest with each other, you and I all know that there is not a single one of us that is maintaining this field 24/7. There is not a single one of us that is maintaining the sanctity and structure of our field 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Within each and every one of our days, something pulls us out of our center. And we do our best to get back to it as quick as possible, but I'm telling you, even in that quickness of that moment, that's all it takes. That's all it takes in those moments is just for us. It's okay. It's okay. It's not a situation where we get down on ourselves in any way, shape, or form. In this moment, we get to just realize that, oh, okay, let me be a little more vigilant to any of the signs, signals, or energies that are coming through me so that I can make sure that I continue to maintain and just keep evicting anything that does enter into my field. So how does the spirit attachment happen? So spirit attachment happens on a multitude of different levels, but I'm going to tell you the majority of the times it happens through something or someone that's personal to us. So if you have a loved one in the hospital and this loved one is suffering, there's a part of you that has kind of a distortion within your field because it's holding the compassion in such a way that it's wanting to help or to heal or to hold the space for this field of another person, right? And you can feel it. There's so many times that the majority of us learned when we were young how to heal a person was to take on their pain and suffering for them. Most of us did this as children, and it's still a habit that we have to make sure we maintain our field and watch ourselves on. So now you're in the state of, I feel sorry for this person, or my heart is aching for this person, or I feel sad for this person, or whatever the vibration is. We are not in a maintained space. We go walking through a hospital. A hospital is full of disincarnate beings. The hospital is full of energy, yes, that is lost, confused, unawares. And this is the joke that I was kind of saying in the newsletter for whoever got to read the newsletter, is that for those of us that hold the energy of a healer, we're holding that signature within our morphogenetic field, within our aura. We have like these lights all signaling to all of creation that I am here to help and heal. I am here to help and heal. Therefore, if there is lost souls around, they see that and they're like, oh, here we go. Here's like the blue call button. I can finally get some reprieve and some help here, and maybe this light can help me out. So there are those of us, and I'm not saying it's each and every one of us here in the group, but some that will magnetically just attract this kind of energy more than others. I'm one of those people, and I've done it since I've been very, very little. It's almost as if they just go boom, 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 and then I'm like, oh, great. And then I have to keep helping to move and help and heal and clear. So I've joked for a very long time. I'm a shit magnet. I love it. I've joked for a very long time that I'm basically like the Earth's housekeeper, because it just feels like everywhere I go, every lost soul seems to find me and just goes, and just like, here she is, and can come into my space. And therefore, I have learned over the years to be able to catch it quickly and be able to many times communicate with them, just like you're doing a counseling session for any living person, and assist them to move on. But I will tell you, as a child, it was incredibly difficult. I went through incredible depression, even suicidal thoughts, and multiple years of just having so many overrun feelings on me, because I had so much shit on me of other people's energies and all of these entities that would just keep going like, oh, she said she could help, this must be the contract, right? Until I learned how to actually start moving it, it felt like I was buried under a lot of these beings for a lot of the time. Like everywhere I went, they just wanted to talk to me, and it gets really overwhelming. So I want to share this to each and every one of you, because I know there are some of you that have to deal with this, and it's overwhelming energy, because it just feels like you get dogpiled everywhere you go. And we have the right to our sovereign space. It doesn't mean that, you know, we have to tell everything and everyone to piss off. It just means that we have the right to our space. And just like we create parameters for our clients, we get to create parameters for the spirit beings too. So I just put that out there. So what are, and wait for just a moment, so he could attach. Yeah, absolutely. So how does the spirit attachment happen? That's one of the ways. If you walk through any places like hospitals, places like veterans places, a lot of times museums. I'm just gonna say I was having a conversation with one of you, I think it was a week or so ago, about even secondhand stores. I can't handle them. There's just so much energy, because a lot of times the spirits will attach to personal items, and then you walk by and now they're in your space. So that is a huge aspect of it. Another way spirit attachments happen, and this one is really important for us to know, because this is really without our consent, excuse me, is say you have to go under anesthesia. You have a blackout, drugs, any kind of substance abuse. Also, I will say astral projection. We need to really watch ourselves, because our body has the ability to have spirits attached to it if we're not there with it. And also things like concussion. So anytime that there is kind of a moment where we kind of black out and are not present with our body, those are moments where spirit attachments can happen as well. Many times when a family member dies, even if we're not in the area, and I say this one because I have a feeling many of you can actually remember a moment like this in your life, but if there's been a grandparent, a parent, a child, anyone in the family, even a great-grandparent, aunties, uncles, it doesn't matter, that has passed away, and they are scared many times. And okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to take a pause on this one because this is the thing that kind of frustrates me a little bit as far as where we're at, especially in our culture. Nobody really likes to talk about death or the transition. And I know in the household I grew up in many of the Western cultures, there isn't really an understanding of what the transition process is, what occurs after, and how the living can assist and help. So we can actually expand our awareness and our consciousness, and to know that there are actually many cultures, such as if you were to read the book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It's a very powerful book that really teaches us that when one transitions, that it's so beneficial to have people in vigil and prayer, sending guidance, consciousness, and energy to the soul that has transitioned, assisting them in the process of remembering to just keep moving towards their light, right? So within the Tibetan Book of the Dead, I will say that the main theme of it is that regardless of what bardo level that you move through, the whole thing about it is that ignore everything that's happening around you and just keep moving. That there may be chaos, there may be things that are trying to scare you or lure you or seduce you into being in a new space, and come follow me, here I'll lead you. And that in each and every time that it just says, as you go through the bardo, remain your focus and keep your vigil and just keep moving forward. And part of that, how that happens, is that when those that are living are actually saying the mantras and the prayers for those that have transitioned, it's as if that soul can hear it, and it helps to remind them in that bardo space to keep moving and transitioning forward. So that there's an understanding of going like, okay, I'm returning back to my soul source, my soul home, right? And that there will be some transitions through some, what I like to call almost like dreamlike realms, but they're very real. They're very much like these bardo realms that we move through. But in the Western realm, most people don't know anything about that. Instead, they learn that if you're really, really good, you'll go to heaven. But if you're really, really bad, or if you've not just even not been good enough, you're gonna go to the fiery pits of hell and burn forever, right? So like there's a lot of souls that are like, screw that, I'm not going anywhere, man. So in that, we can actually see that here on especially the Western realms, there's just a lot of souls that get trapped and they don't get to move on. So we get to hold the compassion for them that says, hey, I'm going to hold this space for you. I am going to create the transit portal for you now, for you to transition and to be able to return back to source for whatever it is that has kept you here. So other things that create spirit attachment, if you're in a really depressed state for a long amount of time, pretty much any of the energy that was on this other page over here, if you have addiction issues, if you're in a state of wanting to be in bursts of anger or negative comments or emotions a lot, or any of some of these things that are on this list, if you are holding that energy of what is on the lower vibrational scale, like attracts like. The spirits exist within either the second or the fourth dimension, which means that they're holding vibrations that are really within the universal laws of this whole aspect of whatever you hold in your field, they will magnetize and attract towards you. So if you are holding a lot of that energy, it is going to attract to you because you feel familiar, you feel comfortable, you feel as though you're going to be something that they can resonate with. And that's really what they're looking for, is something that matches what they're matching. Go through major depression. Yeah, yes. Oh, absolutely. So within the idea of major depression and anxiety, this one, you just brought up a good one, Abby. This is, oh, sorry, Archie. Whew. The guides are piling a bunch of information on this. So with a lot of the anxiety and the depression that's happening right now, first of all, I will say that most people, especially in the teenage to 20s, so teenagers and into the 20s, are having an extreme amount of depression and anxiety. And this is coming from, first of all, there's been an absolute disconnect from soul source for so many in this age group, because there's been an artifice of mother, if you will. And I'm going to say it like this, not to say that these teenagers and people don't have an actual physical mother or a nurturing mother, but the nurturing that has come to many of the beings on this planet is coming from an artificial source, which I'm going to say is social media, is going to say is coming from electronic devices. And just, if you can imagine social media and electronic devices, this is very much an artificial nurturing. This is very much an artificial way of connecting in. And so it is never really allowed. And if you can feel the disconnect of that, that means that every time one of these young people is looking at a screen, going into social media, or feeding off of one of these electronic devices, think about when you look at your phone, where is your consciousness? It's actually coming out from your lobe in your head and out of you into the screen. So you're not even in your body anymore when you're connecting with these devices. These devices are riddled with programs. They are specifically programmed by AI technology and infrastructure in order to keep people on a consistent loop of searching for something outside of themselves and constantly not feeling good enough. There's always somebody else to live up to, or to be like, or that I'm not like, or in order to fit in, right? Because remember, in our physiology and our programming as human beings, our number one instinct within this physical body is to actually belong. It is to survive. It's a survival skill to be accepted by the tribe. Therefore, it's an incessant need within children to fit in. And therefore, this programming latches onto that and gives them the constant carrot and the stick, as if keep moving towards it, but you'll never actually reach it. So now they're pulling more and more and more out of the body while these programs are happening. Tell me, do you feel the anxiety just in that scenario? There's a constant feeling of being left behind. There's a constant feeling of disconnect, of not being loved, of not being good enough, not being in the body. And remember, one of the easiest ways for spirit attachments to happen is to be out of your body, to not be completely in your body and present to it. So therefore, the body has now become a vessel that is easily riddled by spirit attachments. And it really sucks, but even without electronics, spirits tend to gravitate a lot towards children anyways, because their fields are extremely open and vulnerable. So if I was to say, you know, that noticing teenagers with major depression and anxiety, I would say that most suicidal thoughts that happen on the planet are a spirit or an entity attachment. That if we could actually get to the people who are having suicidal tendencies, suicidal thoughts, or any of these lower depressional vibrational states, that 9 times out of 10, and I would say 9.5 to 9.9 times out of 10, It's actually a spirit or an entity attachment, something that is actually pulling or pushing them towards that thought frame, and it's not even them. So again, you guys, us starting to get into really facing what some of this stuff is and learn more about it, we have the opportunity to be such a healing catalyst for others on the planet, because this is something that is major for all of us. And I say this, one, for us as far as what we're clearing, but more importantly, how can we expand this? Because you and I, we are doing the work, right? We are going through the steps in the clearing stage, but how can we expand this out to others that we're reaching to? So yeah, also several toy makers are devil worshippers, and they apply spells on the toys. And yes, unfortunately, there's a lot of programming to a lot of the stuff. It's quite the disturbing rabbit hole when we start to understand more and more about how much. A lot of our first classes, I take the deep breath, you guys know something's coming. So a lot of our original talks we were doing months ago, just on some of our galactic history and some of our understanding of the different dimensions and realms, we get to really know that we are incredible infinite beings, right? But we are a perpetual energy source. So as long as our consciousness is out to lunch, as long as our consciousness is busy, if it's busy in a nap, busy on our phone, busy in the computer, busy being depressed, busy being pissed at somebody, busy not being in our body and not being mindful, then that means that we are creating energy that is allowing other entities, spirits, or parasitic things to cord into us and to siphon our energy. It's just the way it is. So in that, we can just say, okay, well, I understand there's a lot of crap on the planet that wants to pull from me. Now, how can I set my field in a whole other way? So again, how does spirit attachment happen? Usually it comes just through our field of wanting to be a helper. So stuff will attach to our field. Family members that are close to us. Many times just walking through an area, a museum, a battleground, land, through an area where a horrendous accident happened. I mean, we can just be walking anywhere, and if we get mindful enough, we'll notice the moment that it's happening. If we don't, it'll be like what I shared last week, where it's like something attached to me, and I was able to pinpoint it back to October 30th. That something attached to me. And when I remember what was going on in that time, I was doing, that was the day I was preparing a lot of stuff for our full moon ceremony on the 31st. And our full moon ceremony was really about setting a prayer and a revocation for all satanic ritual on the planet. So I was within the field of writing all of this stuff down, and for some reason something attached to my field at that time. Benevolent enough spirit, it was just a spirit that wanted to eat, I think, a lot of Halloween candy. So it just attached to me and kept making me want to eat. That's really what that spirit did. It just kind of kept creating an energy of like, I think you're still hungry. And when I finally caught it, it's instantaneously, it was just it's the coolest thing and the weirdest thing. It just, that energy just goes away immediately. So okay, so I want to actually go into some of our mechanics a little bit better. I think we're all pretty adept at understanding spirit's attachments and some of the energy that is around it. And again, oh my gosh, I really want to say that most of the time, 90% of the time, it's just a lost soul. It's just a scared or lost soul that just is confused. And whenever a person dies, they get stuck in the consciousness, the thoughts, and the emotions of the moment in which they died. So, for example, if somebody died in a war, for them, that war is happening over and over and over in every moment, you know, so they're constantly trapped in thinking that there's a war happening, right? So that could create an anxiety in our field. What a horrendous, like, tragedy to be stuck in a loophole like that, right? So in all honesty, we are these angelic gifts of consciousness that can catch these lost fragments of soul, this lost beings, and assist them, unlodge them, and free them. And I do want to say that the really cool thing is that the more and more we clear these souls from the planet, the more and more we do the land clearing, the entity clearing, the people clearing, the grid line clearing, we are actually freeing the world of lost souls in time. Here's why this is really important. One, it lightens the planet, it lightens the energy of the planet, because again, all of these souls that are trapped here are pretty much stuck in a lower vibrational level of consciousness or memory. Drugs, addictions, anger, rage, confusion, fear, whatever, right? So when we start to alleviate that, we're lifting that off the planet. Who do we kind of piss off when we do this? I'm going to tell you, we're pissing off a lot of the archonic, or the archonic beings, or what I call the negative alien agenda, because many times they actually will utilize disincarnate spirits as a way to keep us busy, as a way to keep us kind of bogged down. So it's easy for a human to be pretty much manipulated, if you will. It's easy for us to be manipulated if we're in a state of depression. We're not doing anything for ourselves at that time. We're just a feeding ground of energy at that point if we're in a state of depression. So think about it. If we're riddled with other crap on top of us, we're not spending any time. We're not a threat. We're not doing anything. We're pretty much what we would consider asleep, you know, unconscious or asleep. So the more and more we alleviate these beings off of the planet, what are we doing? We're raising the vibration of the planet. What are we doing? We're lifting the light on the planet. We're elevating the light. We're now allowing the source light that we are aligning to, the great central sun, to begin to actually reach the planet, reach the earth, reach the humans, reach the beings. Because guess what? You help clear a person from all the stuff that's attached to them. Now guess what? They don't have crap blocking their light. Now they can actually absorb the light and start to wake up and become on their path of their soul again. So I just want to touch on a couple last things on here. And I really want to talk about it as far as the plasma body, because the plasma body is our radiance. When we do our breathing, we're actually increasing the piezoelectrical field of our body, which is to say that we're expanding our coherent field. We're expanding our spin rate of our auric field of our body, which means we're elevating our frequency. So when we can actually start to do the spiritual work, whether it's the breathing, the meditating, or the expanding of our consciousness, what we're really doing is we're expanding our plasma field, our plasma body around us. So if we were to see ourselves on one of those cameras, our light looks bigger. You know, you can see a person when they're all sad and depressed, you can say, oh my gosh, they look like their light is all dimmed out. But when somebody's like radiating, you just feel it. They walk into the room. That's because their aura, their field is just emanating that essence to it. And when that field and that plasma field is emanating the essence, what you have the ability to do, here's the really cool thing I want to share with you guys, because we talk about awakening and expanding our consciousness. Your consciousness, your mind, actually settles and exists. It interfaces within your aura, within your plasma field. So guess what? When you expand your plasma field, you have the ability to actually increase your consciousness. You can actually retrieve your memories. You can actually increase your capability for remembering who you are. That's what our plasma field does. And when we expand our plasma field to such a level, what we're doing is we're allowing ourselves to create that heart coherent space. This is increasing our spin rate of our body so that when we do reach that moment in our life when we transition out of our physical body, and this also happens with astral projection or with lucid dreaming or anything like that, that we can project our consciousness out of our body, but maintain lucidity, maintain our consciousness, retain our memories. So it's like we're building our battery, our database, so that when we travel, we can actually keep our memories with us. We can actually maintain our consciousness with us. We won't be in a state of confusion. And I will tell you that it is really important for us that this work that we're doing is in so many ways giving us the ability to have that understanding that when that moment does come for our transition, to be in a state of peace. We want to be in a state of love. We want to be in a state of at least neutrality. That we don't want to be holding any lower vibrational frequencies within our field because those are not shareable. We talked before about shareable waves, that shareable waves are what allow us to transcend, to travel, to move through stargates. So when we talk about our plasma field too, to know that the auras of the spirits, the spirit that we would assume would be attaching to us, or spirits in the room. So how many of you guys have seen, like, and I love you guys are talking about the camera right now, the aura camera, but how many of you guys have seen the pictures that people take where people, there's like orbs everywhere in a room? Yeah, those are so cool. That's exactly it. That is showing so much of the plasma fields or the plasma light within the field. So I'm about to go to the question and answer portion. So so whenever you see a lot of those orbs, that's a really good example, and that's a really good example of giving us a visual of what a spirit attachment might look like, because many times it's not like a whole huge person, even though it can feel like that in our field. It might just be an orb of light within our field. So I touched on this a little bit. I do want to just emphasize the point about morphogenetic fields, to remember again that our field is actually what's creating us, not the other way around. So when we do the work within our morphogenetic field, to realize that this is really where our Akashic records are, where you know, our Akashic records a lot are actually in our body, but this is where our consciousness is, our mind is, where we're processing, where we're holding our consciousness field. Therefore, we can understand that as we're holding this consciousness out here, if we're holding lower vibrations, that's what's actually attracting the entity to us. So when we hold our morphogenetic field and our field around us in a state of what I really want to call neutrality, and I did put on the blog that I really wanted to share the idea that neutrality doesn't mean no emotions and nothing, but neutrality, think of unconditional love as a state of neutrality. Because when you think of unconditional love, it's love without judgment, which means there's no polarity. There's no right or wrong in it. It's just unconditional love. So when we can start to maintain our field, and if you could just allow yourself to hold the idea of unconditional love within your field, how powerful that is in order to be able to help fortify your field. And also, in just to give a visual, I love sharing these visuals here in the sense that our heart is expanding into our magnetic field. The more our plasma field grows, plasma actually has a magnetic capability to it, which creates light fibers in it, light filaments. And these filaments will actually magnetically attract to each other. So you can create kind of a fortified field of light around you. And our heart creates an electromagnetic field around it. So remember, anything your heart is intending, we can actually pull it into the field through the heart. So all of this is just kind of our physiology and our physics that works together, which I like to call our ascension mechanics, that when we start to understand you emanating love isn't just a feel-good, wishy-washy kind of thing. It's an incredible, powerful magnetic field that is transforming dimensions and realities and actually liberating souls off of this planet. So love is a lot more than just some feeling that we've been taught to, like, oh, be loving. No, this is like why it's probably one of the most incredible, powerful weapons, if you will, that we have in this universe as far as bringing things back into alignment, balance, and back into the natural state of God's source being. So we are incredibly amazing, resilient, and powerful beings. I never want us to forget that. So the last, let's see, pretty much the last thing, and I'm going to talk about stuff we can do kind of more as a group. So the last thing, again, like attracts like, anything that you are thinking and feeling many times, if it's of a lower vibration, will attract these entities or beings into our field. And I do want to say that there is a difference between spirit attachment and, say, a ghost in a house, you know, if you will, or a haunting, or a spirit that is attached to something. It's a little bit different. So there many times is spirits that will attach to houses, that will attach to land, and sometimes they'll stick to you when you move through, but for the most part, they're actually connected to whatever the physicality is of that region or that land. So you will feel it when you're there, but when you leave, you don't feel it anymore. So I just want to say that because there's a little bit of a differentiation there between one that it sticks to you and then starts following you around. It's just stuck to you. So no matter where you go, it's still part of your field. So I do want to differentiate on that. So with this, the shamanic dream walker and healing and clearing the field, this has to do with how we start to catch it. And I'm just going to go through a few brief things as far and mesh this together with the last slide on here, which is taking our sovereignty back. So how to do self-maintenance and heal ourselves. So just to wrap up all of this, the whole thing with now understanding that any shift in our mood, any shift in our energy, any shift in our thoughts, we can now take a moment to actually sit and go into it. So we've talked a lot about a lot of different techniques, and I'm just going to give you a brief outline of one powerful way. There are many, but one powerful way of starting to connect with the energy and then begin to clear it. So the initial thing is, again, to do mindfulness and to be able to catch the energy or the sensation or the feeling. So this has to do with us identifying it. And if it is a thought, if it is an emotion, generally those are stuff that we also can feel within our body. So we can identify it within our body. And then we can also identify it within the emotion or the thought, and then begin to, again, I really like to write it down sometimes so that you can actually transfer it out of you and onto a piece of paper, and then be able to move it on. Once this energy is felt, I will say that if you do it on your own, I would use a piece of paper. Otherwise, within a therapy situation, and if you are working with a client, you want to actually start to talk to the spot. Just express to it that I mean no harm, and that what I'm here to do today is actually to help and to heal and to feel better. And many times when you're saying this, you're not only saying this to your client, but you're also saying this to whatever the energy or the entity is, the spirit is that is there. Because in truth, we don't mean any harm. We're not here to just be eradicating things out of their comfort zone, but rather to assist them on. And so within this, there is the ability for us to begin to communicate with it. So whether it's with yourself or with a client, you want to now create a dialogue with it. If it's with the client, you just want it to allow. How do you dialogue? Whatever the first thoughts, feelings, or impressions that come up, just let them be. It's as if it will just have the opportunity to speak. If it's a knot in the throat, a feeling in the chest, if it's a sensation of absolute rage or anger or something like that, just allow it. Allow yourself to tap into it. I would like to speak to you. Tell me. And allow it to just begin to express itself. Write it down on a piece of paper. Allow that person to speak it to you. Once it has spoken to you, now we get to get the information from it. You know, do you know that you have passed on? Do you notice the body that you're in? Is this your body? You know, at what point did you leave your physical body? What happened? You know, there's different things we can ask, or we can just get all of the information as far as allowing it to have the understanding that the body that it's in isn't its own, and what is it intending? Is it, if it's wanting to help us, because sometimes, I don't know, oddly, they think they want to help us in some way, and we're just like, well, this is not helping. So we want to allow it to be able to move on. So we get to share with it that it's actually limiting and not helping, and allow it to move on. So one last time in going over this process with the paper, you want to get a piece of paper and you want to allow yourself to write out absolutely everything that thought, feeling, or emotion is saying to you. Once I write it down, I actually like to fold it in half so that I close the words, in order to then be able to go into a sanctuary kind of space. So we're going into the spiritual court of equity. We're going to call upon all of our guides, all of the benevolent beings who are assisting and holding neutral, compassionate witness to hold and bear witness to this. Basically, loving hearts to circle around. We could call upon our ancestors if we want to, just in case some of this energy is attached to them. And allow ourselves to just start to call forth within this space that whatever the energy is within this paper, and you can read it, that you're gifting it back to that entity or being. And that in this moment, I do not consent to it anymore, that I see you, I love you, I sense you. But in this moment, I am sharing with you now that I have the right to single soul occupancy. We have that right. I have the right to single soul occupancy. That in this very I am present moment and now, I am calling forth to open a transit portal of safe passage for this being or soul. That you have the right to safe transit, and you have the right to safe passage, that you have the right to be assisted on in your soul's path and in your soul's journey, that you have the right to choose the light, or you have the right to return to wherever you came from. But in this moment, I am hereby saying that you do not have the right to my sovereign space anymore, and I am proclaiming that you are hereby evicted and therefore revoked from my space, and moved with compassion towards safe passage. Now I'm going to tell you, there are most of the times that you can share within them that, you know, for whatever, if it comes up that they're afraid to leave or anything like that, there's always ways to help, to call their guardians, to call their higher self, to call their guides, to call for their assistance, to assist them in some way. There's a lot of times that if it's addictive energy and that spirit doesn't want to leave because they still want to drink or they still want to do drugs, many times you can actually offer them elixirs from the higher dimensional realms, that if they want to try it, and most of the times it's so much better than anything that one would get substance-wise on this planet, that it's like, oh wow, okay. And it's just about the rehabilitation of a soul and allowing them to move forward with their spirit guides and with their medical team, if you will, if it is a debilitating situation, to call their medical team, the spiritual medical team, to assist them so that they can be rehabilitated in the best way possible for them. It's never for us to figure out what's right for them. I really want to say that. It's never for us to determine or judge what is appropriate for another soul or spirit, ever. That we get to just be the neutral, compassionate witness, that we can call upon our guides and their guides to assist them in the best way possible. But that with love, we also have the right to claim our single soul occupancy. We have the right to not have to share our soul space with another person. We don't have to share our aura field with anybody else, because we all have the sovereign right to create our own auras and fields. And that is how we truly co-create. So just to know that within this process, you're claiming your sovereignty, but you're also giving theirs back to them and allowing that transition to take place. And then with love, you can assist it through. I will say there are a couple clearings on the members page under the contract revocations. There's one for, it's called Safe Transit, and that one is beautiful for any being who has just passed on. So it's very much like a passage that you could read for someone to assist them through the bardo, or for any spirit attachments that may be needing assistance to move through. You can also call forth, there's another one, shadowy energy, or shadowy vortex, I think it's called, but you can always just call upon Mother Ark, if you will, which is just the mother energy, Mother Ark, to imagine that she creates an open transit portal that basically welcomes home, that any soul that is assisting, it's basically allowing them to move through towards the realms of their higher self to be assisted in the best way possible. So now the last couple things, as far as things we could use, I do want to share a few of these things, and just for fun, really cool levels of protection for us. Crystal Merkabas, and I want to say I really enjoyed this one, and I actually have one ordered that should be coming. I'll show it to you guys soon. But I love working with Merkabas. We work with a Merkaba every time we do our 24-dimensional shield, and I thought it was really fun. I was listening to one of the podcasts from Elena, and she was talking about the crystal Merkaba, and the being that she was talking to was talking about how it actually helps create a field around us. So not only being able to visualize with one within your field and to create your Merkaba field around you, but even having a Merkaba, and they were saying that if it was made out of quartz crystal, that it had a much more powerful energy as far as for being on our person. So I want to share that. Another thing I like to do as far as self-maintenance and protection around the field, shungite. Anytime that you can wear shungite, place shungite around the house, it really balances the fields. I have one thing that I was actually telling with my V today was about getting copper pipes. And I have these copper pipes. They're the same pipes that you would run water through in your home. And they're cut about this big. And I fill them up with shungite powder, quartz crystal. And I actually, if you have silver, you can put silver shards in it. Or I actually just do colloidal silver in there and colloidal gold in there. And sometimes I'll even put like some sage or lavender or sacred herb in there as well. And then you can actually cap it with organite on either end if you like, or just something that'll keep everything in there. And on a full moon or a new moon, or on a sacred ceremony night for yourself, get at least 4 of them and mark them on the corners of your property. So if you don't have property, you could do it in the room where you're in. Just make sure the caps are shut, because if you've worked with powdered shungite, it's like carbon based, so it will make a mess everywhere in your house. But and then I just did a thing where I put them in the corners of the property, and then followed the electromagnetic field of the property until where it showed me the next corner was. I did the 4 corners of the property of where our home is. And if you feel where the lines are, the energetic lines of your house, you can put those into the corners, and they actually help maintain your parameters of your house. So whenever you do your meditations and whenever you do your clearings, you can expand it out and then recharge that field. It creates kind of like a net field around your house to help protect you. So shungite with copper, any of that is really, really, really helpful. Another thing I do want to say, and this I've heard in so many different resources that I want to share it, is to get a chunk of iron. And this iron, if you can magnetically charge it, magnetize the iron, which I guess you hold a magnet to it and then you rub the other end in a circular motion, it'll actually magnetize the iron. And that iron, if you have it under your bed, on your person, some people will actually put like almost like a chain link or a vest on if they're working with somebody. But specifically for the spells or curses, the jinn, the genie, that kind of fairy energy, any of those kind of elementals, it actually weakens and it clears them out. And I've heard this from so many sources, mainly because as elementals, they work with the electromagnetic field of the planet, and the iron completely throws them off and depowers them. It destabilizes them, and so they actually leave. So having a chunk of iron underneath your bed actually helps to clear stuff off of you while you are sleeping, so that it will actually protect you. Of course, the 12-dimensional or the 24-dimensional shield, and also any aura building exercises where you're expanding your plasma body field, expanding your radiance, moving your energy, accelerating your toroidal field around you, and any of that. And with that, I am going to go ahead and bring our session to a close as far as with the slides, and now open it up for our conversation. So I'm really grateful that I got to share that with you. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share.